Welcome back to some professional Starcraft 2, the IEM Katowice World Championship 2021, the Grand Finals. With hundreds of thousands of dollars on the line, we've battled over weeks to come to the conclusion of who is the very best of the best and who will be the best of the rest. The man who fell just barely that short last year. The man who's fighting both to find what emotions are as well as for the trophy. In the top right, it is Zest. No, Zest! Oh my god. Beating Parting to get here and so many others. Clem. And then going through the group stage in first, as predicted. And by the power of his Pro Gamer hoodie, looking like a construction barrel, sat down with about as much emotional bandwidth, at least from what we saw. And I made an important point to mention that what Zest was wearing gives him his power. If he's wearing the jacket, it contains his power. But if he's wearing like a jersey or a hoodie, which is designed for functionality, boom, there you go. Like and subscribe if you agree. Now, of course, a man no stranger to fashion in or out of game. A man who has more APM than the entirety of the Bronze League combined. And then he starts playing the mid-game. In the bottom left, the Italian Stallion, beating Dark, who triumphed over him in the BlizzCon finals, beating Maru, of all people, in a reverse sweep, and earning his place to potentially become the first IEM Katowice non-Korean champion in 11 years. It is the man who misspelled one of the main characters of StarCraft 2 in order to determine his name more than half of his life ago. It's Reynor. And thankfully, the 3 minutes of introduction mean that still no units have been lost, as Zerg versus Protoss is there's quite a split. There's either your all-out cannons, shield batteries, other Protoss shenanigans, maybe proxy hatch, early pool, or we build a Stargate, which most players will go for an Oracle, but Zest loves his Void Rays. And we wait until about 4 minutes until something's gonna die. This part of the game, especially once we get past the shenanigans phase, which I believe is a technical term, especially once we get past the shenanigans phase, is pretty figured out. There will be, well, I'm pretty sure Reynor saw the second Void Ray. Yeah, he did. So, with Zest, it's hard to tell, because Zest is Zest. And he is oftentimes best. But, does he just not care? Because he could have hidden the second Void Ray. It would have been like 10 seconds later or so. But he could have left Reynor in the dark about whether he was going to go for a more heavy Void Ray strat, or if he's going to build, because oftentimes you'll see an Oracle. But he just queued it up, let it go. Reynor sees it, which a Void Ray, well, it kind of implies you're going to have the heavier Stargate play, is not nearly as dangerous to your drones on its own. As Queens, Reynor a big believer in the hashtag YasQueens movement. As many Zergs know and many other races complain about, is that essentially Queens are your defense. They are the first and last line of defense, or offense, really, against many strategies, especially in this matchup. So I expect to see plenty of Queens, and plenty, well, maybe in this series, not in this game, because in this game, Zest has swerved entirely. A hard right turn into charge lots. Reynor right now is building 3 queens at a time, which 90% of the time is good, except when your opponent is putting. Look at his probe count, 39. It's a fake. It's a fake third. Zest put it here just to look like he had a third. He has 30. He doesn't even have enough probes to saturate 2 bases, let alone 3. He hasn't been building probes for a while. You know what he has been building is gateways. As a Protoss player, you got to vary it up. You got to have a strong deck, especially for a best of 7 of cards to pull out. And surprise! Rest in peace to Trap, executed by Zester. And I believe Reynor earlier in the tournament. But here come a whole lot of charge lots. And without a Baneling Nest with a bunch of queens, this is the one thing queens are not so strong against. The Void Ray is going for the 4th. War Prism is here. Zest, all sorts of in right now. Without a Baneling Nest, the queen's going to try to hold the line. Just to buffer. Brenda! Who let them in here? We're Zerg. We don't just build walls. Okay, we're very accepting. What do you mean? Reynor cleaning this up. The +1 links. Zest using the classic lag excuse, but we wait for no man. The queen's coming back around. The queen's, you know what? I didn't give them the credit. I'm usually the first to give them the credit they deserve. Well, it's starting to get a little dicey, because once the zealots find some surface area and find some drones to slaughter, they get to the chopping. Yeah, for a second it looked like the queens might be something, but they did a whole lot of not dying, but not a whole lot of saving the drones. Zest, in 7 minutes or less, off to a 1-game lead. That was quick and dirty, just how Zest likes it in my dreams. So, that sets the tone. The 3rd base, so that was all intent. I want to be clear. It was all intentional. The Void Ray, the 3rd base, Zest wanted Reynor to see it, and it plays in like it's a whole, he's cultivated a whole mindset around it. Like, oh, I technically correct, but also, Jimmy, what the... So, since Zest is well known, just that he doesn't care about hiding his strats, he hit a strat. He hit a strat by making everything else so obvious. The 2nd Void Ray led Reynor to believe that it was going to be like a double Stargate play, which is pretty standard now. A lot of Void Rays. Ever since they got their discount, they got like a new upgrade. And by new upgrade, I mean they just are basically better. So Reynor was looking at, okay, he's going Void Rays and then maybe in the ground. And then Zest just comes up and blindsides him with the Zealots. He set him up for exactly the opposite of what he needed to do to defend. Reynor didn't have a Roach Horn. He didn't have a Baneling Nest. He had +1 melee, which was going to be to pressure Zest base. But no. It's 1-0. And Zest goes crazy. So, there's a reason. That's a great game 1 strat from Zest. I gotta say, like, we gotta talk almost as much about what's happening in this game as the whole series, especially in this matchup. More so than any other non-mirror matchup, I think. Even Terran versus Protoss. Protoss versus Zerg in a longer series is about keeping your options open as Protoss and trying to narrow them down as Zerg. For most Zergs, that is, unless you're a big fan of Corrosive Bliles or something. So, Zest with that, he showed nothing. Zest could pull that out again. He probably won't. But he's left all of these standard strats on the table. He's left the Void Rays. He's left the 50 Shades with Glaives. that was kind of a throwaway. Even if he lost that game, it wouldn't have been a huge deal, I don't think. And since he won it, that's not a bad start at all. I mean, it's probably the best start you could have, which is winning instead of losing. Please buy coaching on Patreon for more important tips on the best things to do in StarCraft. Like and subscribe. Do you prefer winning or losing? I don't know. Stargate. It's an Oracle this time. A Stalker was built. So, honestly, last time I feel like Zest was letting him get the information. He was showing him what he wanted him to see. This time, the Oracle is going to be used to give the Stalker vision of the pervert pillar that Overlord is metaphorically creeping on. Reynor, just chilling, watching, waiting, dying. Surprisingly supply blocked. Okay, he finishes up a hatch and has an OV on the way. The thing is that Oracle almost never nowadays does any damage if you just send it out anyways. So might as well get rid of the Overlord, leave a little bit of ambiguity, so that way your opponent doesn't necessarily know exactly when you're taking your third, get any intel on what tech you're going for. Second Oracle joins up, and now the ability to have pinpoint drone kills. 2 queens. Ooh, okay, well. Zest coming in for more, but the queens say, "Get off our lawn. We saw what you did to our drones last time. We know it was the Zealots, but all Protoss. We don't like any Protoss around these parts." It's like, oh, Brenda. You can't talk like that anymore, bro. Not since the war. We like the Protoss now. I don't. Oh, okay, keep it to yourself. Neither does Karen. Well, that was obvious. I don't. Roach Warren. This is not. They don't have glaives. Zest just whipping some adepts out here. He just has 6 adepts. He decided he looked to the skies and a cloud went across the sun, and he's like, "Now's the time. Just like the sun, I will be throwing shade." Or the cloud, whatever. It works out, because you're not expecting a small attack this early. Like, it's not a huge deal. Oh, whoa, stasis! Oh, stop right there. Thankfully, Reynor sees it, though he almost gets caught on his own drones. Yeah, that was a diversionary tactic. The Adept Shades. Reynor not slowed down much, if at all. I mean, he lost a couple of drones. And by that I mean 5. But Zest now is building the 3 bases of probes. This is your more typical cookie-cutter, bread-and-butter macro game. Just like the good old days. We got 6 more gates. Zest exploding into, what is that going to be, 9? 10 gates. He decided to add that one. I think he just did the same count I did. A robotics facility is on the way. Is that the first one? Indeed it is. Some Archons. So, unfortunately, though, this is where it gets real scary as a Protoss. He hasn't done enough to slow Reynor down. A little bit of fun usage of Revelation here. Reynor now has... what? I'm sorry, is this Stefano? I don't, he's just building a bunch of roaches. He's got +1. He's got 72 drones. He's just holding down the R key. And he's so good at holding down keys. 600 APM and counting. Which is a little low for Reynor, I gotta say. But hasn't been too much going on. Roach is not well known for being an APM intensive unit. The attack, yeah, this is an anti-timing. This is Zest trying to hit quickly, maybe catch Reynor before he can get Hydras or Lurkers or any sort of next level attack. But if he attacks in, that Revelation only caught half the roaches. So Reynor pulling a little bit of a sneaky on him here. I think Zest smells it. He gets the idea. And Reynor's already... Well, splitting the roaches up is not just to hide information, but it's also, in case of a warp prism, the most deadly creature in all the Protoss arsenal. You never know how many zealots are going to come out of that into the main, unless you're already prepared for it. Checking for a 4th base is Reynor. Doing his due diligence. And not seeing a 4th base... Units. 81... Wait, he can't build any more units. But if he could, he would. He's maxed out. 8 minutes. Infestation pit on the way. 80 drones. But here's the prism. Even slapping on an Archon. Zest not even trying for a 4th yet. Which is interesting. Some Archons. He's got Protoss hit squads all over the map. A few Archons mixed into each. Roaches and Ravagers moving out of position. Zest looking for an opportunity. If Reynor is slightly out of position, he's going to lose a base. But if he has the units, Charge Lots and Archons are scary, but they're not so scary they can't be dealt with. Reynor already starting a hive. He's got a Hydralisk Den on the way. That implies, are we going to see the classical double trouble Lurker Den strat? I think so. He has the money. There's no reason not to. The Hydra Den, honestly, a bit late. He'll need to get 2 Lurker Dens to get the upgrades in a timely manner. He's getting 2 Hydra Dens now. He may have forgotten the first Hydra Den. Whoa, Reynor! Whoa, Zest is that? Who's Zerging who? It just all kind of comes together. Zest is all over Reynor's 3rd. He's all over Reynor's 4th. And Reynor caught in between both armies. The 3rd is gone. It's just gone. The Zealots are in the natural. The Reynor trying to defend his 4th, but he's just absolutely bamboozled right now. He's in shock as Zest... Well, he's recovering. He's recovering. As Zest is starting to thin out a bit. More reinforcements coming in. Hatchery goes down. Wow, it just all happened at once there. A well-timed, multi-pronged blitzkrieg attack. As Zest went from 0 to 100 in no seconds flat. The problem is, at the end of the day, gateway units are just not particularly strong. Even Archons, against such numbers. And I don't know exactly where it went wrong, but Reynor is now up 100 supply. So Reynor, he took a few punches there, but he's going to be swinging back multiple times. Wow, Zest has nothing. Whatever Zest does, he does it decisively. And here it was, looking like a very strong attack right up until he lost his entire army. Wow. Wow. That went from 0 to 100 to negative 100 very, very quickly. And Reynor wins. Oh, and Zest crushed emotionally and physically. The Italian stallion takes a punch, but wow. I don't think I've seen so, like, it went from 200 to 100 supply and Reynor back to 2. The amount of units that died and were rebuilt. I think Reynor taking that extra second to, like, kind of take stock of the situation. He gave up, he lost some drones and he lost a hatchery. But he picked his battle well. And, well, he picked it. I don't know if it could have been better. But it all kind of just fell apart. And this is what happens when you rely on those gateway units. While they might be strong, like, those kind of styles, in my opinion, in very humble opinion, I'm one of the most humble people I know, personally. But those kind of styles work great if your opponent is worse than you. But up against someone of even or arguably better caliber, which I don't know if I'd put Reynor there, but he's at least even. That's when it falls apart. And that's also true in Protoss versus Terran. When you're super reliant on just gateway units, and Archons are just advanced gateway units, in my opinion. Well, I mean, they don't have any spell casting or anything like that. Then you're putting yourself at the mercy of a player who has literally 600-something APM. It's going to be tough to out-multitask that player. Reynor doesn't rely on unit composition. He doesn't rely on unit composition or mind games so much as sheer overwhelming speed. That, like, Reynor turned that battle before I realized what was happening. I think before Zest, well, obviously before Zest realized what was happening. And I think that that last minute deserves, like, a solid 1 hour long, like, breakdown. Exactly how he handled it. But it does boil down to Zest kind of thinning out too quickly and then getting overwhelmed by roaches. That was, that does not bode well for Zest. It's not like he tried to do a later game strat, though, right? He just did an advanced charge. Like, game 1, he did a hardcore, quick, dirty charge lot timing. That was a much more long-winded charge lot timing. But essentially, what that was Zest near max out and a whole bunch of charge lots with some Archons. So it took a little longer to come together, but it was essentially the same style. But this time, Reynor was super ready. Like, he went straight... He maxed out on roaches 2 minutes before it showed up. Wow. Oh, Reynor's not having any of it. That's Overlord speed. You know what that says to me? It's like, okay. As long as I don't die. As long as I know what you're doing. Well... Okay, let's break it down. So, Jimmy, I said let's break it down. No, we're gonna do some math. We'll break it down momentarily. But for now, they're still calculating. All right, like it's Apple Maps. We've got to navigate our way there. Oracle this time. Void Ray into Oracle. So Zest mixing it up. He went 2 Void Rays. Then he went Oracle. And now Void Ray Oracle. So Zest a man of many talents. I forgot what the point was, but I know where I wanted to go.
See, normally if you go one-on-one with another wrestler, you got a 50-50 chance of winning. But I'm a genetic freak, and I'm not normal. So you got a 25% at best at beating me. And then you add Kurt Angle to the mix, your chances of winning drastically go down. See, the 3-way at sacrifice, you got...
Okay, so that's the gist. If Reynor knows, if he genetically evolves his overlords to have the speed to know what Zest is doing, his chances of winning drastically go up. Whereas Zest's chance of winning drastic go down. Because so far Zest has been entirely reliant on hitting Reynor at an awkward timing when he's unprepared for it. Reynor has obviously already adapted. From game 1, I don't think we'll see Reynor caught without a Roach Warren again. At any relevant timing. He's got a Roach Warren. He's got an Evolution Chamber on the way. Overlord. Oh! Aha! Second Stargate. Void Ray in production. Reynor now knows that is confirmed. He knows it's the 2 Stargate style. So we got two options. We got the German taxi. Oh, Brad, no! Okay, never mind. Load them up all aboard. And by all aboard, I mean this is more like the knitting crew protest team as opposed to the German taxi build. Wait, no. There's a lair. Where's their taxi? Bring the taxi! He's faking the taxi build into a classic knitting crew pullback here. They got halfway there and they turned this whole build around. So with those queens, I'm not even entirely confident. This might be Reynor giving Zest a little bit of a taste of his own medicine here. Reynor pulling those queens, because this is the usual and the standard response to double Stargate. Maybe not quite standard, but very common, is a queen push, one way or another, where you use the queens for anti-air before the void ray count is high enough to overwhelm them, so that way your roaches and zerglings, which are a lot cheaper, can run over the ground. But with that team halfway across the map, Zest, I'd imagine, would be a little concerned. Zest does not appear to have been concerned. He does not have any additional shield batteries, no additional cannons. Well, Zest, as you can tell, the look of intense concern, but yeah, it appears that Zest did not care and did not think it was a threat and will continue about his build, so never mind. This time Storm, and we are on Death Aura, which is a lot easier to pick up 4 bases. Your 3rd base can be walled off like so. Your 4th base is on a high ground, which gives it a lot more defensive capability. Your ramp can be walled off like, well, thank you, Sir Zest. It means you can get essentially all of the tech while minimizing, I was going to say minimal risk. More like it's easier to minimize the risk would be a better phrasing. And both players are kind of acknowledging that. So far, only a handful of drones. Zerglings. In fact, Zest has yet to lose a unit this game. He lost a stasis ward, which is very sad. Fleet beacon on the way. Storm. We are sprinting into the late game tech. Reynor's got roaches, hydras, lurker den on the way. Hive is already done. Cannons. 8 cannons? Zest is buckling down and buckling in. Yeah, we've kind of just cut out the middleman on all this. No flirting with, like, some sort of charge lot timing. No pretending that you need to put pressure on the map. The question and the answer is carriers, but also immortals, because apparently there's a fleet beacon and 2 robotics facilities. That's going to make 3 robotics facilities. I'm pretty sure Zest at least suspects, if he doesn't know there's a lurker den. The lurker range upgrade is on the way, and the knitting crew is getting back together, but this time for realsies. Oh, with a Templar! I don't know, why are you out here? Zest is locked out of his own base. I have no idea why he's out on the map. What? You can't get back in. He walled himself out. But the queens holding Brenda. Where's the creep? We really at the edge of it? Why is it just us and the lurkers? Oh my. So this is, I mean, it's important to get a flank on the lurkers. Like, Zest is already setting it up. This may have been intentional, but I think Reynor showed up a little earlier than he was ready for. Zest is going to be built. Yeah, well, okay. I'm pretty confident this was a little earlier than I was ready for. Zest spends time, energy, and effort on killing his own gateway to get back into his base. Reynor continues the push. He's got lurker range. He's got queens. What else do you need in your life? Shield battery overcharge or super battery Oh, the storms! Devastating across the board. Transfuse is coming through. Carrier has showed up to the party. Some target fire. Interceptor's already gone. Reynor continues. Creep slowly. Strike swiftly. The motto of the Zerg and of the Queens. The Lurkers moving up. Fourth base under attack. Zest can't really afford to lose this. Where are the charge lots? Bringing around the back. Losing everything here. Reynor has jammed himself into the fourth. Zest unable to dislodge all of the Zerg. The Immortals doing what they can. The Carrier just kind of angrily staring at all the Queens because it has nothing else to do after all its interceptors die. Fourth is gone. Reynor 2-1. Well, I feel like Zest couldn't decide what he wanted more, whether it was Carriers or Immortals. Like, he went 3 Stargates with a fleet beacon, and then he went triple Robo into Immortals. Carrier, like, if you're gonna do this, in my opinion, I keep saying that. All of this is my opinion, obviously. But you gotta just go Carriers. You can't decide. You can't order on Amazon Prime, which you can subscribe for free on Twitch. You can't order 3 Carriers, get them shipped to you, and then decide when they show up to your door, actually I wanted those to be Immortals. Not how it works. One or the other. You can fill in the other afterwards, but you don't get one and then get the other. You're never going to have an actual army. It was looking okay for Zest. Like, he didn't lose a unit for 10 minutes. But that didn't matter. You can't hop around the tech tree like a particularly high-level chimpanzee there. You gotta make a decision. And Reynor, well, Reynor made a decision. Reynor said, I'm gonna max out with the Lurkers, and we're gonna go. Ideally before the carrier count gets too high. Reynor 2-1. This is not, like, all of the games so far have depended on Reynor. He has the momentum, he has the initiative. Game 1 was Reynor being too greedy and Zest hitting him. Game 2 was Reynor being fully prepared with overwhelming amounts of units to just crush Zest. And Game 3 was the same. I'm a big Zest fan. An only fan, if you would. Though I think he has many fans. But this is not the style that's going to get you 4 games to the finish line. We're just not seeing it yet. By the way, pull first. On the smallest map in the pool, we have the quickest of the pool so far. No gas, so just 6 langs, making things awkward here for Zest. He was able to scout it quickly for similar reasons, but you have to respect it, because you don't know exactly how many langs they're going to commit to. If you just build 1 zealot and they end up going for 10 lings or so, then maybe things get dicey. But this is mostly just a, okay, well, I'm pretty sure even my mom knows you're not supposed to let Zerglings in your base. So, unfortunately, Though Reynor doesn't do much with it. You're not going to get much. There is something to be said for not committing all the Zerglings. I do feel Reynor could have just attacked with all 6 lings. You do want something at home. So that was weird. Zest now has 2 adepts, and this was gonna happen. This is kind of the inevitable counter response to the Zerglings. Is adepts are gonna be chrono boosted. They're gonna come across the map, and the more Zerglings you have ready, the better. Especially ones that don't cut into your drone count anymore. So, was that pull first successful? He killed nothing. And he didn't really... The only thing he got Zest to do that he wouldn't have done before was build a Zealot. I think it's likely Zest would have gone for a couple of depths anyways. So... It looked like it might be good, but... This actually... And when you gotta think about... With Zerg, your production... and your army are inextricably tied together, unless you have queens, in which case they don't cost larvae. Hashtag gas queens. When you build those Zerglings early, when instead of building drones 17, 18, 19, or whatever it is, you're building 6 Zerglings, that's going to have compounding effects. Like, you're not going to have as many drones 2 minutes from now if you build dozens of Zerglings right now. It just doesn't... You don't magically get the money from more drones later if you buy Zerglings at the moment. That's why, as Zerg, you don't usually want to build units until you need them, whether it's for an attack or for defense, to maximize that economy. Whereas the other races, Terran and Protoss, to differing extents, don't really have that mechanic. Like, they want to be consistently producing, especially workers, but also powerful units. So Zest's just kind of building DTs, by the way. Speaking of powerful units. Yeah, like, Reynor knows he's building DTs. Does he care? No. There is a Spore. Yeah, Zest just pulls him back. He can easily go into an Archon drop. Like, I got the weirdest... for a second, I couldn't remember where I had seen this before. And then I remembered this was essentially the meta for like a whole year. Like 2 years ago, if you weren't going Stargate, or actually Stargate for a time was kind of out of style, it would be Archon drop. Either off of DTs or just High Templar. And Zest, one of the very best at that micro, which is a little bit of finesse. It's like juggling without your hands. Instead, it's juggling like origami cranes with calculated puffs of breath. Okay, that got weird. You know, just like. And then, like, you're a little... Stop talking. Okay. Anyways. Warp Prism's very good. Archon's very strong, but still very thick. And that is something to be considered before you end up tripping over them. Or they end up tripping over each other and get blocked in and killed by roaches. Or you lose the Prism trying to pick them up. So, it's actually a little tougher than it looks. Just dunks down. Archon's right in Reynor's face. Reynor is just building roaches. Give him +1. A classic tactic. Zest is showing up. He don't have charge done yet. Roach speed is about to finish. There are 2 immortals in the mix, and that changes a lot, but does it change enough? Decent force fields. There are no Ravagers. Roach speed being done is very helpful here. Zest just warping in more. It doesn't feel like there's enough units here for Zest. I should be clear. 1 Ravager coming through. Just immortals. Zest trying another charge lot timing. You can't fit all those immortals in the prism. You can juggle all the way across. I mean, I get... He may be able to escape with all of his important units. Oh. What a save. Oh my god, the barrier calculated. So he's turning... This is a tactical withdrawal. Okay. Instead of a full-on rout, and he wasn't entirely eliminated, he kept the prism. Wow. What a power move. Zest's shield battery overcharges to just reshield his Archon so he can get back out on the map. Because it's unlikely Reynor's going to attack into an entrenched position, and it'll probably be off cooldown. I've never seen anyone do that, like, not in combat. It just feels like, even though if you're 98% sure you won't be attacked, like, people won't use it. But Zest, no question. We're doing it. Fourth base of Reynor. Zest is down 50 supply. He's down 17 workers. But that is a fierce army right there. It might be relatively small in both supply and overall size. But it is probably the most dangerous early mid-game Protoss army. Like, the most dangerous army you can put together before both players are comfortably at 200 supply. Immortals, Archons, Charizlons with some sentries in the mix to dictate the pace of the battle. Reynor does have a whole lot of Roaches and Ravagers, and at some point, if the brick is large enough and they throw it through your goddamn window, well, you're going to lose... That's, one, a lot of property value, and two, this tournament. So Zest dragged back to deal with the Roaches. And that means Reynor's just going to slam on the front door. Cybercore and everything else vulnerable. Cybercore just obliterated. And then Reynor just backs off. Takes a free Archon. Nope. Saved. He's maxed out. There's no... Reynor's at 60 drones. Channeling his inner Stefano. Just holding down the Ravager and Roach keys. At only 560 APM. Slack in this game. Zest. Was there a prism? No prisms were lost. So how is this DT here? What is your story? Anyways, well, the story ends here. Very sad. Zest is still Zest is acting like he has 180 supply right now. He's at 41 probes. His army supply, he has 3 Immortals, 4 Archons, and 0 fucks. Like, Reynor just has 40 more army supply. He's got +2 Roach Ravager against +0. Now, upgrades aren't so important for this Protoss army. The Archons and Immortals just hit so hard. Oh! Oh, the beautiful... Come on, Reynor. Reynor should have known better there. Those are great force fields. He just bites off a healthy, meaty chunk. But Roaches! Roaches in the main! DT on the 4th! Things are getting a little out of hand here. Zest loses most of the probes and his main. He's gotta go for it, but already Spine Crawler's back at home. Somehow Zest's just powering through right now. Corrosive Biles making their way in, actually getting damage done. But the Archons are surviving. 2 Immortals left over. Drones getting involved. The army is evaporating. And so is Zest. That puts Reynor on match point. 1 game away from being the first non-Korean player in 11 years of StarCraft 2, winning the IEM Katowice Premier Tournament. Now the World Championship. Zest. I know charge lots are good. Okay. But Reynor just saying, get off my lawn. He's had enough of these charge lot timings. No more of that silly Zergling play. Roaches and Ravagers. But first, before we get into the final match, the potential final match. Wow. Zest is not looking great. A quick advertisement from our sponsors. I'll be right back. Hey everybody! In these economic times, I know it's tough, but you can still have Amazon Prime. Because if you don't give Amazon money, then who will? So, with Amazon Prime, with Prime Gaming, you can subscribe to your favorite streamers every month for free. And if you don't subscribe to me right now on Twitch, you're losing money for me. So subscribe with Prime Gaming today after you like and subscribe on YouTube. Thank you. Good night. Thank you guys for sticking around. In the bottom right, Zest. Top left is Reynor. In case you can't read or see, which is most of Twitch chat, but shout out to my blind viewers. Always coming through for me. Something needs to change. This is not working. Zest is obviously, like, it feels like on Death Aura, he tried the late game carrier thing, and he's like, well, see, it doesn't work. And he's like, well, now we're done with that. But it wasn't really a carrier build. Zest kind of swerved into Immortals, and before he could get out of the Immortal detour, Reynor killed him. And Immortals are okay against Lurkers, but not when the Lurkers are already on your doorstep. What am I saying? I know what time it is. It's time. He's kept it in his stylish pockets for this long. Reynor knows it. I know it. We know it. But that doesn't make it less effective. If there was ever a time for the signature build, I mean, even his hoodie is a resonating glaive. And his chair. Actually, they're all part of the same outfit. Give me the Twilight. A Stargate. Okay. No. I'm a completely unbiased caster with no opinions. I just call balls and strikes, okay? I'm just here to provide commentary, not punditry. No, that's total bullshit. What the hell's that? What is this? Come on! I just want good games for the fans. I don't know. Nothing's landing here. Zest is trying a lot of different options, but they all kind of end up converging on the same things. Whereas Reynor, like, Reynor hasn't needed to switch up his style significantly since game 1. Like, he adapted into heavier roaches, and he's found success 3 games in a row. Now, the Death Aura game, the Double Stargate game, he didn't go so heavy on the roaches because obviously Double Stargate, roach is not so great. But that was still the opener from him, just making sure he doesn't get killed early so we can overwhelm later. Overlord speed coming in. Raider. The Void Ray, very angry. Bzzz, reminding me of that menu bug. There's literally nothing to see. There's a pylon that is very obviously going to be the location, the home of many gateways in the future. You can see we just got like plans drawn up. If you look over here, very soon we're going to have some very nice gateway condos here, 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 and here. And oh, and if you want to come down to the forge, we can get you the +1 upgrades. And then we're going to have a Twilight Council right here too. Oh, so beautiful. Buy today. Get your timeshare. No, what? No, well, over here, just down the street. On a Twilight Council, forge. Oracle gets in. No Spore Crawler. Three drones. So far, 5 drones killed. Second Stargate is done. I'm almost like mentally skipping past the Void Rays, because usually and almost always Protoss players will swerve into the ground army and then back into Stargate. Later on, if we get that far. But he's going heavy on the Void Rays. Usually half a dozen is the number. And we see a robotics facility. 2 gases at the 3rd. This is a defining character. What are we doing? Like, there's so much real estate. He's walling off the 3rd. I'm not sure where Zest is going. It does look like he's playing for the later game. He's just kind of chilling with his Void Rays. Reynor is expecting something. He's building 3 more queens. This implies potential aggression. Yes, queens do whatever you want. Hashtag Yas Queens. But, I like how nowadays in Starcraft, thanks to especially Cyril, Lambo, Reynor, when someone's building queen, you just build queen. You just keep building queens. There are 11 queens. And that's not nearly enough. They were going for an even dozen. And then some. Whatever you need. Queens. What? They're just better. It's not a meme. They're just better. No larva. Only minerals. They're great against air. They're not terrible against ground. The more you have, the better they get. This is... Okay, Zest. That is not an army. This isn't even like... He's got a 2 Archon, 1 Zealot, 4 Void Ray, 1 Observer Strike Force. He's got an Oracle... Turn the beam off! Zest, what did I tell you? Go turn the beam off. We're paying in energy. No, Mom, I'm gonna kill drones. I don't. Listen to your mother, Zest. Just like she said, turn your pulsar beam off at night or you're gonna have no energy in the morning. Okay, the queens? Zest didn't even see the roaches. He saw 10 queens. He's like, well, that's too much. You see? There you go. No way we're getting through that. They're all at least half energy. We now have... Wow, Zest, somehow he heard me. And just to spite me, did not build any gateways at that location. Zerglings? What is happening here? That was an interesting exchange. There's already a hive on the way. Lurker den, more hydras. Zest with a strong amount of supply here. He's going straight for the carriers. We're not swerving into immortals. He's been incrementing them out, one at a time. But you have to go for if you're gonna go for the carriers, you can't dilly-dally. You can't take your time and smell the roses. Or whatever flower of your choice. Zest looks more like a marigold man to me, but I don't mean to judge. You need to get enough carriers out so that the queens don't just kill all the interceptors. Like, the anti-air is essentially queens. It is only queens. The hydras have become lurkers, which that's a personal choice, but all of the hydras, he's building 11 a chiropractor's office of spines right now is Reynor. He's going for the same thing he did on Death Aura, which is an intense queen lurker timing. The queens are the anti-air, the lurkers are the anti-everything else. But Zest this time has rushed out carriers. He's got his production up. His probe count is higher than the drones. The storm! Okay, whoa, that's a lot of lurkers. Brenda! Why are we in the middle of the map? The Zealot shut down by the spawns. Reynor very ready for these obvious counterattacks. There's only one carrier, but a lot of storm ready. Feedback! Drops the storm hammer as well. The interceptor's gone. The feedback's a great choice. Because if those queens have too much energy, well, give them a bad review and suddenly they're demotivated. Doesn't do as much damage as it once did, but without transfuse, they're significantly easier to kill. Meanwhile, Roach is going for that top base, but the carrier count is up to 4. Minimizing the transfuses are keeping things together, but another storm. Energy versus energy. Nexus is down, but that wasn't that important to keep going. 4 bases is okay for now. The main's going to start mining out soon, though. Zest needs a critical mass of carriers. He needs enough carriers that the queens are not enough. More probes dying. I'm not locked in here with you. Meanwhile, Zealots on both sides, dealing with roaches and then with whatever's left. The carrier count, maybe the Immortal's getting a little forward. Is there detection here? Where's the detection? He's got revelation on some of the lurkers. And Reynor is forced back by the carrier count. The carrier production continues, and if they're allowed to build their interceptors up, there's no corruptors. There's no spire. The queens are gone. Long live the queens. 14 queens down. 0 carriers killed. Zest at 73 probes. This is the type of confidence we're used to seeing. Hydras, of course, also a threat, but much more vulnerable to storm. Important to note. Zest does need to land a couple storms. Those are going to be +3 Hydras here. Without the storms, the critical mass of Hydras should be able to deal with the interceptors. The lurkers are zoning out the Templar, though. Reynor knocking on the door once again. Couple queens coming up. Those lurkers are all the difference now. Decent storm. Zealots coming in. Zest making his last stand at his 4th base. Reynor looking for the win in this tournament. But the Hydra count is thinning out. Void Rays show up to the party, and Reynor decides he's going to leave. Zest strikes back. There you go. Reynor tried the same trick twice, but this time Zest was ready enough. It was still dicey for a time, but he got the carrier count high enough. He zoned out the lurkers and queens to get to that level of air superiority. And Zest holds the line. The thing is, Reynor also knows Hydra's, any ground unit against carriers, is a short-term investment. Even queens. Because if you don't have corruptors, or you don't have things like vipers, eventually, and it doesn't take too long, Once they get over like half a dozen carriers, it's an exercise in frustration and probably a downward spiral. So Reynor probably choosing the best choice and just going for it, but Zest holds. Now we got a series. Going into Game 6, and will continue to be match point from here on out. Zest puts another one on the board, but Reynor only needs one still. We're on Pillars of Gold. Reynor won't drone rush, right? This map, I don't even know why it's so popular on this map in particular, but the drone rush through the natural wall, I don't think so. Third base taken. Essentially, as a Zerg player nowadays, your natural is either your third or their natural. You don't get to take your natural anymore. That's just how it is. The probes are waiting, watching, probing. No cannon rush. There was the one semi-early pull from Reynor, but that even wasn't particularly early. It was just a pull first, not an early pull so much. Zest. Is it time? Is it time? It's such a gamble. We've seen many tournaments lost with the Adept. Cyril versus Trap several times comes to mind, with the last game ending in a failed Adept push. Is this 6 out of 6? No. Zest, when push came to shove in one game, he did go for the Robo. That was after Reynor's early pull. But 5 out of 6 games now. The Stargate. The staple. The mainstay. The backbone of Protoss. The Stargate gives you that early control, denies scouting, and then potentially becomes something more. Or maybe not. Depends. It could be just one Void Ray. Or it could be 10 of them. Overlord speed. Reynor's been getting Overlord speed ever since Game 1. Game 1, he didn't get Overlord speed, he died horribly. Overlord speed at least gives you the, it forces them to actively deny scouting, as well as makes it much less likely you die to a super all-in charge line push. So far Reynor has died to things most Zergs will die to. The most obvious suspects, which are 1, super early all-ins that go unscouted, and 2, Sky Toss. Everything in between has gone to Reynor. Overlord sneaking in. Important to note, we're nearly 4 minutes. No gas is at the natural, which means... Well, you know what else it means? Zest, let me finish my sentence. A pre-4 minute third base. The no gas at the natural indicate there's not going to be a huge tech follow-up. At least not immediately. You got more minerals to work with. And I would say like a quicker third, but Zest already, I mean, there you go. Second Stargate. Falling back to it. We'll see. How quick... Oh, Reynor sees it building. Ooh. This gives him a lot of information. This is about as quick as you could possibly scout this. Reynor, I think we need more queens in production, don't you? He starts a lair. Reynor. Reynor. Hear me. In the past. More queens. And if he starts producing a queen here, I think I know where this is going. We'll see. Getting more gas. I'm looking for the German taxi. Hey, there we go. Now, it looks like this... It could just be the full macro version, but I think it's worth... When you scout it this early, going for the German taxi build, or just straight up pushing the queens. Yeah, the German taxi build is more early game. When you only have 1 or 2 overlords worth of queens. This will be a whole harem of queens. A knitting crew. If you would. Get the full band back together. This is it. This is prime opportunity. This map, the third base, is relatively open as well. A lot easier to attack in. There's a lot of space. If you see here, space between the natural and the third. That can't easily be covered by shield batteries and cannons. Oracle coming in. The creep is stretching directly outwards. I just want to see it. There's charge, there's +1, the usual. So, oh my god, Zest is getting all of the gateways. How many gateways would you like? Yes. More queens being produced. The queen count is now at 10. Reynor comes in and he sees all of the gateways. Which means Zest has stopped at 4 void rays. The 4 void rays is a healthy... Like, that's enough to stop the roaches. Not enough to really do damage on the other side of the map. Especially against someone with double-digit queens. Storm begins. Zest gonna play it out here. It just feels... Reynor's holding down the R key. He's ready for any potential follow-ups here. And he is ready potentially to lay on the aggression. This is not a high-tech army. There is no infestation pit. There is no Hydralisk den. There is no spire. Uh-oh. I didn't expect to see it quite this late, but the queens are revealed, and they bask in the revelation. Yes, look at us in all of our glory. Reynor moves the roaches away from the revealed queens. Reynor's maxed, and he does not have Hive Tech on the way. He does not have anything else on the way. What he does have is a dozen queens on the way. Oracle, down. Queens, off creep. Struggling. Slowly but surely, the attack comes together. We'll get there. Destroy. Oh! They'll lead the charge. A methodical charge. They're taking a lot of damage, but that means the roaches aren't. Already pre-splitting against the storms. There's not that much air. Where is the army for Zest? A couple zealots at the back, a couple zealots at the third. The third base is gone. Drones being slaughtered. Corrosive biles landing on void rays. 3 immortals. Where are the gateways? They need more warpins. The super battery at the back. Overcharge. The queens are barely holding. The Ravagers behind them. The immortals. A struggle for Reynor. His attack is thinning out. The storms were amazing. And the queens have been eliminated. Now Zest can't go too far. The counterattacks for Zest were good, but his supply is still incredibly low. Shield battery overcharge on cooldown. Oh, the roaches and Ravagers up in his face. Corrosive biles coming out. There's just not enough units here. Reynor bashing through. One Void Ray doing its best, but its best not good enough. Corrosive biles knock it to the ground. The supply is devastatingly low. The production is devastatingly low. And Reynor is the IEM Katowice 2021 champion after 11 years. The Italian stallion defeating Zest. Zest taking second best 2 years in a row. That is tough. But Reynor comes in with the follow-up, and Zest just can't stop him. Reynor's roaches rolling out. The Queen's leading the charge. He deserves it. Some ridiculous, like in every matchup, beating Dark, beating Maru, beating Zest. Come on. Like, the world champion, the 6-7-time GSL champion, the runner-up as well as multi-champion, all down, all eliminated. Reynor, is he the best in the world? Well, he's now the world champion. Bow before the man himself. But congratulations. How long will he reign? Leave a comment, like, subscribe, ring the bell if that I'm not confident it does anything, but thank you ESL for putting on such an incredible tournament and tournaments into the future, and hopefully next year we can see him in person. Good luck. Have fun. See you next time.